Stick around. We're going to give you our weekly NFL picks and talk about the Tigers' improbable run.
Oh, welcome to tonight's episode. We are here on a Friday. We had some personal stuff, so we're a day later with this show here. But at any rate, we are here now, and we're going to be talking about some NFL predictions. Again, we're going against AI, ChatGPT, see if we can beat ChatGPT. My brother predicted that he was going to have a pretty good week. We'll see if that actually happened. And then, we definitely have some Tigers talk. What they did and are doing is just incredible. I love it. It's been so much fun. They've captured the hearts and minds of baseball fans everywhere. So, but anyway, picks. So, how do you feel about your picks? Like from last week's picks?
Well, the early games, I wasn't feeling great. But after 4 p.m., I was on fire.
Yeah.
So in the afternoon games, because I think it was, I can't remember which ones were the afternoon. I think it was just the 49ers down. I was 5 of 6. The only game I lost was the Bills.
Well, I'll tell you this. All right. The way our spreadsheet here, we keep track of everything. The last 8 games that we have on the spreadsheet, last 8, you won 7.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So in the first 8, you only won 3. So yeah, you definitely were not feeling good about the earlier games.
No.
But you definitely came on strong there at the end.
So I wrote them down last week when we went through the picks. So I had my little sticky. So as I was checking off games, but I was like, oh yeah, this was a good week. When I put it all together, it was a good week.
So here's something that's, again, a little bit interesting here. You and I had the same record for the first 8 games. We both just won 3. So, so now I have to figure out, like, who actually pulled it off there at the end. So,
that's right.
At any rate, so again, we pick against ChatGPT. We'll share the file here, the Excel file that tracks our picks. We'll go through the picks from last week, and we'll go through our picks currently for this week. We had our picks already selected before last night's game, but again, we just weren't able to do the show. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share. We'll start with last week.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, I can timestamp my picks because I sent it via text message to my brother before the game started.
True. So here's our picks from last week. You can see here, Steve actually did end up beating everybody last week. It was his week. He had a total of 10 victories.
And I did exactly what I needed to do.
You did. That's exactly what you said.
I said I needed to pick up 1 game a week.
1 game a week.
And I picked up 3 games on ChatGPT, so 4 games on ChatGPT.
4 games. Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy about that.
So it was amazing. You can see over here, if I scroll to the right a little bit, you can kind of see, right here, the first 8 games, all 3, me, Steve, and ChatGPT just tied for 3 wins. It looked like it was being another rough week, but then Steve and I kind of started up pulling it out. I was really disappointed that the Cardinals lost that game to the Commanders. They actually had a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the Chargers and the Chiefs game. The Chargers had a chance to win that game. But, that's what happens. I kind of knew that ChatGPT was not going to have a good week when they picked 12 away teams to win. That's a lot.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yeah, JD was the only one that picked the Ravens to beat the Bills. It was a tough game for me to pick, but I'm standing by Josh Allen and the Bills. So
you are. Yeah, you're very adamant about that.
So I got this weird feeling that this is it.
So with last week's picks, this is where we're at here total.
And just for a second, we got to talk about the Lions win though, because it was a Monday night game.
Yep.
And I'm gonna say it like this because we threw the Philly special, and it wasn't just like some easy toss. St. Brown threw a dime.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Because it went right over the linebacker that was going. I was at trailing Goff, but it was not. I think had the linebacker been looking, that would have been swatted down easily. But Goff threw a nice. It was a great pass.
It was a good pass to Goff. Yes.
And so it was a really fun game to watch. And I watched until the third quarter started, and we were already up. We had just scored. We kicked off, and Seattle had the ball. By the time I got ready for bed and got into bed, Detroit had already scored another touchdown. It was the Jameson Williams 70-yarder. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
And that's something that Steve and I have been talking about, like that passing route that Jameson ran. That's something that we both have been saying that we wanted to see, Jameson run more. Not just the deep stuff, not just the streaks, right? But like run actual patterns. And that route where he gets behind the linebackers in front of the safeties, like we've both been saying just how we think that should be his bread and butter.
Right? It has him in motion, right? I think it makes him an easier target to hit, right? Because he's coming across, so he's more broad, right?
The horizontal speed versus the vertical speed.
Exactly. So I just feel like you can hit him in stride a lot better, and then he just, once the ball's in his hand, I mean, he's gone.
Well, we also, if we're talking about that, we also got to give Goff credit, right? Not a single incompletion.
Yeah, 18 for 18. And that's the kind of game he has to throw. He doesn't have to be perfect, but we're talking 18 passes, right? If he's 18 for 24, like, that means the running game was working.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our offense. That's how we function. Offense. We work better when Goff doesn't have to throw more than like 25, 26 times.
Yep.
We're a better team.
Yep.
So it was awesome to see that. And, just some of the stuff that was afterwards, like when Coach Campbell said, he got asked at the post game about, did Goff get a game ball? He's like, I'd already given the game ball out, and he didn't realizing that the guy was perfect, right? And scored a receiving touchdown. So who knows?
He now has more receiving touchdowns this year than Travis Kelce.
He has more receiving touchdowns than like 9 or 10 top receivers.
Yeah. But yeah, that game was great though. It was fun to watch. It was exciting just because of some of the big playability again with Jameson Williams, the trick play again. Lions are just fun that way. Like you never know what you're gonna watch when you're watching a game, like or what you're gonna see. Because there's between the fake punts, the trick plays, every week is something different.
Yep. Gibbs had a good day, right? And it's nice to see, honestly, when St. Brown doesn't have to be your leading receiver, but he was actively involved, right? And not just because he threw the touchdown, but actively involved and still catching the ball. He had 5, 6, 7 targets. They spread the ball around.
Yeah, it was fun because last year it was because the St. Browns, Amon-Ra and his brother, they have their own podcast. Goff was on it, and this was all last year, and St. Brown was talking. He's like, hey, who's the third string quarterback? And Goff's like, oh, it's not you. He's like, why wouldn't it be me? And then Amon-Ra, talking smack, like
Oh yeah.
And then it's kind of funny that now this year he threw a touchdown pass with a nice dime, like you said. So
yeah,
it was fun. But yeah, so I added a new column here. I don't think you've seen this column yet here, brother, where it says upsets. Now, I decided to create like a new category. And what I figured this category would be is because there's 3 of us picking, you, me, ChatGPT.
Right.
I figured I'd call an upset if nobody picked that team to win. Because obviously there's only 2 teams. Between 3 people, like, people will use loosely here with ChatGPT, but
right.
With 3 predictions being made, the chances of all picks going to one team is rather low. So the fact that, if everybody did pick one team over the other, another team ended up winning, I would consider that an upset.
Yep.
So that's what that little column means now for upsets.
Okay.
And yeah, you can see week 2 was just nothing but upsets.
Nothing
It was
but
crazy.
upsets. Yeah.
But you can see down here at the end, at the bottom, you can see the total records here. I'm up 5 games on my brother. ChatGPT is up 3 games on my brother. He's been coming back strong from the poor week 1 performance. He's been trying to fight back ever since then. So if we look here, week 1 and 2, ChatGPT predicted the most wins. I got the week 3 most, and then my brother finally got his first week with the most wins here in week 4. So now going to week 5, here's what we got: Buccaneers versus Falcons. Of course, that was a Thursday night game.
Yeah, that one hurt because that's a tough game to call, right?
Yep.
Because I like both teams, and I mean, Kirk Cousins had a game, and then
Yes,
to throw the winning touchdown in overtime to a guy who's caught 2 passes all year, and both of them were last night.
That's kind of my strategy all year. And you can kind of see with the other weeks that I picked. If I'm struggling to pick between 2 teams, I will generally pick the home team.
Sure.
Because that's exactly what I was, having trouble with too. Like, I know Buccaneers, could absolutely have won this game. But I was feeling the same thing with you. I wasn't confident in one team over the other, so I just went with the home team.
I thought the defense for the Bucs was better, and defense travels, which is why I think that's my biggest reason why I went with the Bucs. And last night there was no defense. I mean, it was 24-17 at halftime. And Kirk Cousins had 253 yards passing in the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he finished with 509 and he needed one extra series, that's really all he needed was one extra series in overtime. And he, because he was at 460, I think, at the end of regulation. So just a heck of a game. It was so fun to watch. Like, I couldn't go to bed.
Yeah.
It was that fun to watch. Because it was just, they go down and score. Well, all right, hold my beer, and they go down and score. And it was like that all night.
It was.
And then Young Wei Koo missed 2 field goals. So one was a penalty, he got an extra shot, and then he had one block. But yeah, bottom line, it was a really good game to watch.
And you can see here, everyone with the Vikings here. Vikings, their defense, I said this, I think in week 2, is underrated. I don't think enough people is talking about their defense. And Sam Darnold is having just an amazing
resurgence.
It's just been,
and I shouldn't even say resurgence. It's a surgence.
Yes. But here's something that I thought was excuse me. When before the season started, they were talking about Sam Darnold because they were talking about the Vikings in general. And they were saying, like, what do you think about Sam Darnold going to the Vikings? Does he have a chance to, start over there now because, McCarthy and everything else, right?
Right.
So, but they were talking about when Sam Darnold was drafted, he was drafted super young, like at 20 or 21 years old. So, Sam Darnold's only 27 right now.
Right.
And a lot of times, like some quarterbacks, they just develop later. And that's exactly what it looks like happened with Darnold. I don't, you got to give the guy credit. And Geno Smith, absolutely.
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing right now is just like the guy has just been insane this year.
Yeah.
I know he has 3 picks in the year, but the touchdowns, 11 to the 3, it's almost a 4-to-1 ratio.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm looking at, so Sam Darnold got drafted by the Jets.
And they were a mess then too.
And they were a mess. So, that's where rookie quarterbacks go to die. Honestly. Right? So it was not a good situation to begin with. And it crushed I'm sure it came down, his confidence. And then, he didn't get the job when he got traded down to Carolina. He's been around now. And He's got the maturity, and Kevin O'Donnell just seems to know how to get, or Kevin O'Connell, O'Donnell knows how to just get the most out of his guy.
So, and this is, like a true professional. This is something that he would say, right? Because, I mean, he was drafted 3rd overall back in 2018. And so reporters asked him if he felt like the Jets failed him. And, that's kind of a catch-22, because even if you feel that way, it's one of those things you just don't want to say it anyways.
Right.
But, like, this is the answer you kind of expect, him to say. But he just said no, that the Jets didn't fail him, that he felt he had a lot of opportunities in New York, and he always felt like he could have played better there. So again, he's putting his failure of being a good quarterback in the Jets on himself.
Sure.
And that's what you would expect too. So,
and I think from a good leader, that's what you get.
Yes. And that's what I'm trying to say, right? Like, I mean, he's like, it's not just that he like developed to be a good quarterback, just, like the quarterback physical traits, but like, he developed that leadership ability as well.
Absolutely. Because I talk to my kids all the time about coaching, because they have a bad game, they lose, they got blown out. It's not a game they should have won. And I'm like, look, the coach isn't out there playing, right? So the coach does make the game plan. They put the game plan together. This is what we're going to do, right? But the team has to go out and execute. So whether the game plan wasn't right or the team didn't execute, there's always fault to go around on both sides of the ball. And we all know that at any level, when teams are bad, coaches it hits them, right? And while I don't necessarily agree with that, they're the leader of that team, and they're the ones supposed to be able to get the most out of their players. Players still have to execute.
So the next pick here, the Panthers versus the Bears. I thought about going with the Bears with this pick. This just kind of seems like a game that I can see Caleb Williams actually having a good game against the Panthers on this one. But until I actually see like a string of good games, I'm not going to put like a lot of confidence in that, right? So I went ahead and went with the Panthers anyways.
Yeah, Andy Dalton's got that offense doing really well.
But they're doing much better for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, the Bears are the favorites right now.
They are.
Yes, like by like 3.5 points, something like that. But
are the Bears at home?
Yeah, they are at home.
Yeah, that's why. Usually the home team gets a 3.5 point, and then it goes from there, or at least a 1.5.
So that's and of course ChatGPT, only person picking the Bears, and it makes sense. I any given Sunday, and these neither one of these teams are like overpowering. We could say that. Browns versus Commanders. This one, I just went with the home team. That was my final decision making on this one as well. Dolphins and Patriots, again, kind of the home team. We've seen what the Dolphins quarterback was capable of doing, which was not much at all.
Yeah.
And being
that's
third
tough,
string,
he was
it's
put
tough.
into a tough situation. He's probably only there a couple of weeks. Right?
Absolutely.
So now he's got a full game under his belt, another week of practice with this team. I can see them being better. I just don't know if it's going to be enough.
The Patriots aren't good either, though.
They're not,
right?
But they did beat the Bengals, and the Bengals the Bengals are not a bad team as far as talent, right?
Yeah, but they're bad this year.
But they're
they're bad this year,
and but the Dolphins have talent, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see. Then Colts versus Jags. I'm the only person that picked the Colts. Jaguars just has not been a good team this year.
No, you can't make your quarterback. He's like a Jared Goff to me. I think you gotta control the game with the run game, and you gotta have him only throw 25, 26, 27 times, less than 30. Right. So and I think they did that last week, and I think they got that win last week, right?
Now I'm gonna call like a quick little audible on this one as well, okay? Because every now and then, if the quarterback is injured and may not start, and we don't know, yet when we make our picks, we can always change before the game begins, because Anthony Richardson is listed as questionable right now. So, the Jaguars have a lot of their defense out, including like Devin Lloyd. So that's another reason why I think that. Oh, I should say out. I should just say on the injury report.
Yeah, banged up.
So we don't know if if they're playing yet or not. But yeah, they're definitely banged up there on defense. So anyway, we'll have to see what happens. That could be a pick that gets changed by me depending on Richardson's status. Anyways, so Bills versus Texans. Steve is going with the Bills every single time now. Look, I actually want the Texans to win this game. I'm a big CJ Stroud fan. I like what he's been doing as a young quarterback. I want him to win this game. I would not be. This is one game I would not be mad to lose.
I would be, but I like CJ Stroud too.
Yeah, I know you do.
I like
and it's
CJ
tough to
Stroud
say,
too.
right? Because coming
and
from
he's making Nico Collins look like a freaking. I mean, they're having. He's leading I think he's the leading receiver in the league right now.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. Ravens versus Bengals. I already picked the Ravens. Again, Bengals have not been a pretty good team. Raiders versus Broncos. It's hard to go with the Raiders right now. They're kind of dysfunctional on the inside, it seems like. You got some, players that are requesting trades, winding out, making business decisions, as a coach put it. It's tough to go with the Raiders until they actually prove that, they're able to do something.
And Devontae Adams is definitely not going to play. He didn't practice all week, so.
Yeah, so Cardinals versus Niners, that was kind of an easy pick. But Cardinals are still sneaky good, and they play the 49ers tough. So, again, anything can happen. Giants versus Seahawks. I'm not Giants. I don't believe in the Giants at all. I think Giants are a really bad team.
Yep.
Packers versus Rams. I've been going with the Rams. Rams have been kind of my
Your Bills,
quote unquote Bills. Yeah. I've been going with them all year, except for when they played against the Lions. And they're home, which is why I picked them. Again, I think this could be a close game. Packers are a very good team. So Packers could definitely come out the winner here, but I'm going to go with the home team.
And I think, hold on. Cooper Kupp, was he? Let me look, because I have him as a fantasy guy. It's not that. I don't think he's on this league. Yeah, oh, he's still listed as out. Okay. I think there was a talk that he actually might play this week, so I think he's getting close to getting back.
Yeah, he's definitely out. I'm just reading a report here. Kupp is still out.
Yeah. And this is hurting. My fantasy football team is hurting. Like, now Mixon is out. Awesome. I've got 0. So, here's who I have out. Joe Mixon, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, and Christian McCaffrey's on IR.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's So now I'm trying to play, Zach Charbonnet, Cam Akers, and Jacoby Myers to try and fill those voids. Although Mike Evans had a game for me last night, and Godwin did okay. So I had both of them playing. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Yeah, I know. Then Cowboys versus Steelers. Of course, you can see everyone with the Cowboys. And then Saints versus Chiefs. Steve was the only one that went with the Saints on this one. I don't think that's a bad pick at all. This was one I just went with the home team. That's kind of my I default to,
And the Chiefs have they've been finding a way to win. Right. They haven't played well, but they've been finding a way to win. They've been doing whatever right at the end to win. So if you look at this, if you look at our picks, I'm trying to make up ground on my brother. Well, he already got me because he picked the Falcons over the Bucks, right? So for the rest of this, I need the Jaguars to beat the Colts just to make that up. And then I need the Saints to beat the Chiefs if I'm going to catch the game. Just catch the game on it.
Yep.
Yeah. So bottom line is, one of those two teams need to win so I can at least stay even with my brother. So I guess that's not a bad opportunity.
No. And again, this could change. This, and again, a couple of eye, depending on if Richardson plays or not.
Game.
So, so that is what we got for our picks.
Good. Yeah. Like I said, I was feeling pretty froggy about my picks last night. So when I sent them over to you, I was like, this is gonna be all right.
But look, quick transition. Tigers' magical year continues. Um, it's just like there's no quit, man. Like in this, I mean, who goes into a game, right? Uh, a playoff game and just says, meh, who cares about starters? We're just gonna throw 7 or 8 guys out there. Let everybody just pitch 1 inning apiece. You know, we're not really gonna have a
Yeah,
starter.
right.
Like that's incredible, man. You know,
And but to have the bullpen to be able to do that,
yeah, yeah, have the bullpen to do it. You're right.
right? So like he has AJ Hinch has got the faith of the guys that he's got back there to say, you go give me as many innings as you can give me. I got a guy that's going to come in and help you out.
Well, if you remember, we were talking about why there hasn't been a lot of pitchers going, like deep into games.
Yep.
Because, you look at the third time through the lineup, that's pretty much when the hitters get their timing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you basically have a new pitcher facing you every single inning, like you can never get your timing. Like that's
Right.
not necessarily like a bad way to go about it. I mean, you blow your bullpen up. Luckily, the Tigers won that game, and they were able to get their bullpen rest now until tomorrow. But yeah, like I mean, no, I don't know of anybody that's done that in the past. Just that bullpen game, in the playoffs.
Right. In the playoffs.
In the
mean,
playoffs.
we've seen bullpen games in regular season,
Of course, all the time.
right? So you look at what they've done, and there's obviously been a lot of talk about the Tigers and with whether Skubal should pitch game 1.
Yep.
Right. It'd be a short rest, and they've talked about, I think in his career he's only gone on short rest once or twice in his career, and in the last he threw 160 innings or something this year. I know I'm close. It's somewhere in that range. And prior to that, in over 2 seasons, because of injuries, he only threw 160 innings.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your guy, right? And if you're going to make a long drive into the playoffs, I think rest is probably the best thing. Like, keep him on his normal rest, right?
Yes. I think right now, me personally, I would want Skubal to be fully rested. Look, if you don't, look who you're going against, man. Like Cleveland, they had one of the best records in the American League. This is not just some pushover team. Like you're not going against the White Sox. If Skubal's not 100%, your quote unquote guaranteed win is no longer guaranteed. You know what I mean? Like you have to have Skubal be 100%. And so I'd rest them. And currently, last time I looked, they on MLB.com, they currently have as a probable pitcher for the Tigers starting is Colton. So, there you go. Like they believe that Skubal's going to be rested here.
Yeah. And again, when I sent you that article, I fully expected you to say rest, because like I get he's your guy, right? And if you get him to pitch in game 1 based on, time and the day off and the layover going from the 2 home games to, 2 away to 2 home, that, he'd have another rest and he could pitch game 4, right? But even in this instance, he could do 2 and pitch in game 5 if we get the game 5, right?
He could.
So possible game 5. And then he'd still be available to pitch, was it? Well, he pitched, and then at the ALCS. I forget what game it was, because I know there's a bit of a layover there.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be. I don't know if he pitches 5. He'd pitch game 1 in that one. I don't know.
Right. I don't think he pitched. Yeah, I don't know if he pitched game 1, but it just depends on like the days and when the other series ends and how that looks, and if there's a couple of days rest between that from there. But yeah, you want to throw your best guy, but you also want your best guy to be at his best.
And Holton has not been bad this year, so we'll see what happens with that. They'll likely go against Bibby here, Tanner Bibby, and this guy's good. He's a good pitcher. He was 12-8 this year on the season, 3.47 ERA, 187 strikeouts to 173 innings pitched, WHIP of a 1.12. Like the guy's been good, and he's very consistent. He's one of the he's not going to walk a lot of hitters. He's going to be throwing you strikes. So like with this guy, you have to be aggressive, to get to him early, because he's going to throw you strikes.
And that's the kind of pitcher I think the Tigers need. They just the bat's got to be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hitters got to be ready to hit, and they can't just keep the bat on their shoulder.
But look, obviously, let's go Tigers. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All the playoff series start tomorrow. Tigers versus Cleveland. You got the Mets versus the Phillies, Royals versus the Yankees, and the Padres versus the Dodgers. So, bad thing for the Padres on this one is in Game 2 they had Musgrove pitching, and I think it was the fourth inning. He started throwing a couple off-speed curveballs and stuff like that, and the catcher called timeout and asked for the trainer, because he just felt like Musgrove just wasn't throwing right, and
Yep.
it turns out that he has to have Tommy John surgery.
Yep.
So now he is out, obviously the rest of the playoffs, but probably all of next year as well. It sucks for the Padres fans, and obviously for Musgrove for having to for that injury. That's devastating for that team.
Especially where, like, when you think about you're making a playoff push where you're at, and to have that happen, and to know that the earliest you could come back is if your team makes the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
next year.
And and then would they pitch you in the playoffs? You know what I mean? After not having pitch, just there's a lot that to miss an entire year of ball. It's gotta be devastating.
Good news for the Mets, though. This was kind of a surprise announcement. Kodai Senga is going to be the Game 1 starter. Look, he has not done anything this year. During spring training, he had like a shoulder injury. He was going to supposedly at that time be out for a month, but it was like way more than a month. He came back in July, and then and all he did was like one start in July or whatever it was. And then more problems. So now all of a sudden here he is coming back, and we'll see what happens here. He's gonna be the Game 1 starter, though. That's, again, he's a good pitcher. Good news for the Mets. And we'll see how he does, and I hope for the best for him. But yeah, like, what do you do about something like that, right?
Right.
And I think that's all of the updates as far as injuries go or whatever, with for everybody still in the playoffs.
Right. So did there was a meme after the Tigers beat Houston, and obviously the Lions had already beat the Rams. There was a picture of Justin Verlander and Matt Stafford, right? As the Detroit team said goodbye and kept on moving. Right?
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Well, Verlander wasn't even on their playoff roster.
Well, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even know he wasn't on the playoff roster.
Yeah.
All right. So talking about playoff rosters, do you think Jackson Job's going to stay in the playoff roster, or are they going to send him back down?
No, he's here.
He's here to stay.
Yeah. He's just going to stay. Absolutely.
Right. Because I read it sounded like he had a bit of a rough outing.
It wasn't as bad as what it looked, honestly.
Okay. All right.
Look, I know. I've read a lot of people basically, not just like experts or whatever, but even Facebook friends. They're talking about Jackson Job and again and the couple of base hits, the runs, so on and so forth that he gave up. But
yeah.
No, you're gonna get hit. No pitcher's perfect. You're gonna get hit.
Right.
So sometimes you just ain't got your best stuff, and I don't think that was necessarily it. I think his stuff was actually pretty decent. I think he just missed some marks. And anytime you leave a pitch over the middle of the plate, you're gonna get hit, and that's just what happened. So, but no, he's fine. He's fine.
All right. Well, like I said, I wanted to get what I call your expert opinion. Because
Yeah, and then you have
I'm
to.
I'm all for leaving the guy here because he's shown that he's proven he should be here. He just, like you said, how many innings has he pitched in the majors? It's not many.
6 maybe.
That's what I was thinking, right? I think he
Yeah.
had 4 in his first start, and then he's pitched a couple of innings since. So again, you can't. Yeah, he was striking it. He was having a really good year down in AAA. But we've talked about AAA, right? And
Yeah.
it's not the bigs. That's why it's That's why it's AAA. So
Well, I mean, Hinch also, excuse me, Hinch also did say that he can't wait to get Jackson Joe back on the mound against Cleveland. So
okay,
he's gonna be here. Yeah,
all right,
yeah. It's and like I said, his stuff was fine. He just had a little bit of a problem with the location.
okay,
Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Speaking of the Tigers, so last show I read you a couple interesting facts. You know, one of them was, of course, that a 0.2% chance just back in August as far as like
right,
making the playoffs. So I got some more interesting facts for you here, brother.
okay,
All right. Most of them's Tigers related, but I got a couple because you asked another question too, and I got an answer for you. I don't know if you
okay.
remember or not, but I got an answer for you from last week. Okay. So one of the most insane statistics that I seen was the entire Tigers roster for the wild card roster, right? The entire roster
Yeah,
is making $18.8 million, whereas
yep,
Josh Hader by himself from the Astros is making
Astros.
$19 million.
Yeah, I saw that too. I almost sent it to you, and I'm like, I'm gonna send it. He's like, I already seen it.
Oh, I definitely did more than once, but I love that statistic. But
Yeah,
but it goes deeper than that though,
okay,
because there are college football teams that are paying a player more and than what
and
the
then
Tigers roster is making.
yeah.
Yeah, with
Oh,
NIL.
so yeah,
I mean, nuts.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think what Shador Sanders out in Colorado is making over 3 mil a year in NIL.
mhm.
I mean, and
Well,
that's just one player. So that's already
so
that's 1/6 of what the Tigers playoff roster was.
and he's making more than any player on the roster.
So,
Any player. He's
okay.
making more than every single individual on the Tigers
Yes.
roster. So,
Yes.
but who do you think is making the most on the Tigers roster?
Current roster.
Current roster
Current roster.
for the playoffs. Yes.
Matt Vierling.
Incorrect.
Okay.
It's a trick question. So, Colt Keith, because he just signed that extension at the
Just signed
beginning of
his
the year.
extension.
So a rookie is making more money than anyone else, and Colt Keith is only making $2.8 million this year,
Wow.
and he's the most on the roster.
It. I've said, we say it every week. It is fun to watch this young Tigers team. Imagine next year, even if we don't go any further, but the
Mhm.
playoff experience that they have just gotten, right?
Yeah,
And the thirst that they will have next year to get back.
100%, 100%. So here's something else. All right, the Tigers, they had nobody on their roster had 150 hits or more. Nobody in the roster had more 75 RBIs or more. Nobody in the roster had 25 home runs or more. Nobody in the roster had 25 stolen bases or more. And
Wow.
the Tigers are the only team in Major League history to make the playoffs when they did not have a single player meet any of those statistical marks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that one, that's a good one. That's a good nugget.
Isn't it?
That's a good nugget.
So, and now since they're the first team to make the playoffs without having a player reach any of those statistical milestones, they're the first team to ever win a playoff series without any player reaching those statistical milestones. But I saved that one for last because I figured I like that one the most. So that was all my nuggets for baseball. I got 2 more nuggets for you, and
Okay.
it concerns the question you asked last week. Last week we talked about the viewership in the WNBA,
Yes.
and you said you wonder what the viewership would be now that Caitlin Clark is no longer in the playoffs. I got that answer for you. But before I get there, I got one more nugget before I get there.
All right. You got me staying to the end now.
Good. All right. From 2008 to 2023, the WNBA had 0 games with 1 million viewers or more. Not a single game had more than 1 million viewers from 2008 to 2023. This year, there's been 23 games with 1 million viewers or more, and of course, it's all Caitlin Clark with the Indiana Fever. So, with that being said, the Caitlin Clark's last playoff game that she played when they lost, that game had 2.54 million viewers. What do you think is the highest viewed WNBA playoff game since then?
Well, I'm going to go based on the information you gave me from the first little nugget. I'm going to go that it's less than 1 million and say 500,000.
You're right. That's less than 1 million, but you're a little bit too low.
Okay.
The highest viewed game since Caitlin Clark's been out is 929,000.
Okay, so it's been close. All right.
Yeah. But still not that million mark.
It's still not the million mark. No. And we talk a lot about Caitlin Clark, but the talent that is in the WNBA, the young talent that has come into the WNBA has really turned that league around, right?
It's going to be exciting going forward, sure.
It absolutely is, right? And I think a big part of it is that a lot of those players that when they came out of these girls that came out of college and out there playing, they were already self-marketing themselves.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
So via TikTok or, their Instagram, some social media platform that they already had in place and their followers, right? I don't know who the business person that talked to these ladies that they got them set up with us, but they've set themselves up, and the NBA or the WNBA should look into
benefit.
It's going to benefit, absolutely. And this year's crop of new players that are coming in, there's going to be a few that's going to come out and it's going to make an impact on the team.
Absolutely.
Next year.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not going to get any easier. It's only going to get tougher.
Everybody's anticipating Becker's coming out.
Yeah,
that's the one that
Paige Backers, I think is how you pronounce it. But yeah,
that's who everybody's kind of anticipating right now.
Yeah.
Of course, it'll be more than just her, but just to name one. But yeah, that was
that's
viewership overall is up. So
yeah, that's a huge dip in numbers though from her last playoff game to what is the highest current viewership of a game.
And the last thing I got to say, since we're kind of talking about Caitlin Clark, is she did win Rookie of the Year, but it was not unanimous. There was one vote. And to me, that's just not acceptable. Like, there was no reason not to vote for her to be a unanimous Rookie of the Year. Yeah. She had better statistics as a rookie than, like, say, Cheryl Swoops did during her 2 MVP performances. So, like, how is she not the unanimous Rookie of the Year? But
I know. I mean, she was it AJ? Was it AJ Wilson? Was that her name?
Yeah, AJ Wilson.
Yeah, that girl. I would not want to play one-on-one basketball with her at all. She would destroy me.
Absolutely.
Not today. She would destroy me when I was in my prime. I want to make sure I specifically state that. Like now, Of course, I'm going to get beat. I'm 51 and I don't move anymore.
Right.
So
yeah, no, she's excellent.
She's a phenomenal ball player. So, but yeah, there's a lot going on with the WNBA, and I think it's great. It's great for women's sports. It's great for sports. I shouldn't just say women's sports. It's great for sports.
No, you're right. It's great for sports, but I mean, there is a specific group, which is women, that's going to benefit the most out of it. Yes. Because it's going to draw more women into sports.
Right. Well, I'm hoping, that the players come together with the league and start thinking about, because I saw some article, they don't get a big piece of the the profit margin.
I heard they did. It's the same.
The WNBA.
They get this. They get the same percentage as I thought I read. Wasn't it? Or is it
I
that they
thought
wanted the same percentage?
they wanted the same percentage as the NBA
Okay.
or the NBA,
All right.
but I think they get like I thought it was 10%. Might have been 20%, but and I think the NBA actually gets like 50 goes to the players.
Okay. Yep. Yep. You're right. 10%. However, NBA players receive 50% of basketball related revenue.
So if you want it to grow and you want to keep getting the good players and keep them in the States and not going overseas,
well,
you can.
All I gotta say is about just real quick, right? The league is still losing money, so it's hard to give people even 50%. What's 50% of nothing? Right? Like,
I get you.
So,
I get you.
But look, obviously stuff is increasing. Like the revenue's up. Again, Caitlin Clark is a huge reason for it.
And I assume
the sole
jersey
reason,
sales are up.
Huge reason.
Like jersey sales got to be up, right?
I haven't looked specifically, but I'd assume so.
I would assume so.
Let's see. What does it say here? Okay, I'm trying to see if this says. Okay, so the NBA generates $10 billion of revenue a year. The WNBA generates $200 million. So, I mean, that's a big difference, right? The average attendance of a WNBA game is only 9,000.
Yeah.
So,
but there are only 12 teams?
No, I don't think it's that, is it?
Because they take 8 to the playoffs.
I know they just got an expansion team. I was going to talk about that in a second too.
It could be 16, or 14.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Mercury, 11, 12. Yep.
So it's not a big league, but again, you can't expand something when they're not making a lot of money, which is
But they did just get a new expansion team, and there's a second expansion team going to come out in the following year. So it's 12 right now, but there's 3 expansion teams coming to increase it to 15 teams.
Nice.
The last expansion team, I'm gonna look it up. I don't want to be wrong in this one. It increased like a ton. So they want 16 teams by the 2028. It says that it's $50 million for an expansion fee. However, the most recent team had to pay more, like 115 million. That's what it is. So it went up, more than double.
I'd like to say that that's a good thing, right?
Oh, it is. It is,
because that means there's an opportunity there's a market for it, I guess I should say. That's why they had to increase the cost.
They had to increase the cost, but it's also again going to drive up revenue, right? So, and the expansion draft is going to be interesting because the expansion team gets to pick 1 player off each team, and each team can only protect 6 players.
So, NFL does the same thing when they had their expansion, when they did the expansion draft. So, and that makes sense because you can't draft a whole bunch of rookies. You can't draft a 53-man roster.
No.
Right? So, which is why, partly why I like what the Jaguars, they were so good so early. There's some of the players they were able to get, and then they haven't really been good since.
Not really, no.
All right, brother. Well, we're hitting that hour mark, but, we start talking about stuff that we're passionate about.
We kind of go over time a lot because of that.
Yeah. But look, the Lions got a bye. Michigan is at Washington to play the Huskies this weekend. Their 7:30 game on Saturday. It's their first away game of the season. Tigers play on Saturday as well, which is awesome. So I get to see the Tigers, and then I can still watch. Actually, I got to look to see what time. Tigers play early, or they play in the evening?
I think it was 1 o'clock. We double check.
Okay, good.
I just want
because then I can watch the Tigers and then turn around and I can watch the.
Yeah, it's 1:08.
Okay, so let's just, go Detroit sports, go Michigan sports. Let's get it done. I'm hoping that Michigan's going to have a better offensive showing and that they continue to get better.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing, because you brought it up. Look, you make me do this. You make me do this.
Okay.
I sent you that thing about like Dave Portnoy and stuff like that, trying to lure
Yep.
additional quarterbacks back to Michigan. So
Yep. I sent you the same one.
yeah.
It's funny because I got it. I'm like, no, I just sent that to him. But there was another guy, like if Portnoy says, hey, here's $3 million and trying to get Bryce Underwood to go to Michigan.
Yeah. And someone else said they'll match $1 million of it.
And they would match $1 million. Exactly.
Yeah. So $4 million.
So if Portnoy's ready, if he'll tap out, that's what they said, that they'd match it with $1 million, and here you go.
Yeah.
But he's the number one recruit in the nation. He's playing for the number one ranked team in Michigan, and Belleville's the number one ranked team. So he looks a lot better this year than he did when I watched him play live. I think right now he's a commitment down to LSU, and I think LSU's gonna love him because he
is
does
kind of an LSU quarterback, really.
I was gonna say he does everything LSU needs from their quarterback.
All right, well, that's the last thing I had. Unless you bring up something else that reminds me of something else to say, there, brother. So you know,
I think I'll stop.
All right. Well, look, we appreciate everybody that stuck with us. We'll put some shorts up there as well, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Take care, everybody.